Good day, everyone. Imagine this. You're stuck in traffic, running late for an important meeting, your heart races, your hands tighten on the wheel, and frustration bubbles up. Now, picture another version of you. Sitting in the same traffic, but instead of stress, you're calm. Your breathing is steady, your mind is clear, and you know this moment does not define you. So what's the difference? The situation is the same, but your response is different. The secret to staying peaceful in any situation isn't about avoiding chaos. It's about learning how to meet chaos with clarity. And that starts with understanding one simple truth. Peace is a practice, not a gift. Staying peaceful in any situation is not about luck or natural ability. It's a skill that must be developed, refined, and practiced. Too often, we look at peaceful individuals and assume they were born that way, as if some people are simply wired to be calm, while others are destined to struggle with stress and frustration. But the truth is, peace isn't something you find or receive. It's something you build, step by step, choice. Think about an athlete training for a marathon. They don't wake up one day and suddenly run 26 miles with ease. They train. They start with small distances, build endurance, adjust their breathing, and push through discomfort. Over time, their muscles strengthen, their stamina improves, and running long distances becomes second nature. Peace works the same way. It's a practice, not a gift. If peace were simply something we were given, then life's challenges would dictate whether we have it or not. We would only feel calm when things are going well, and the moment adversity strikes, we would crumble. But true peace doesn't depend on external conditions. It's an internal state that we cultivate, so no matter what happens around us, we can remain steady within. The first step to practicing peace is recognizing that we always have a choice in how we respond. When faced with conflict, stress, or uncertainty, our initial reaction is often emotional. We get angry when someone disrespects us. We panic when plans fall apart. We let fear take over when the future looks uncertain. But in each of these moments, we have an opportunity to pause and choose a different response. We can take a deep breath, step back from the situation, and remind ourselves that peace is not found in controlling the world, but in controlling how we engage with it. One of the biggest obstacles to peace is our attachment to outcomes. We want things to go a certain way, and when they don't, we feel frustrated or defeated. But the more we try to control everything, the more stress we create for ourselves. Peace comes from learning to let go, accepting that we can't dictate every detail of life, but we can trust ourselves to handle whatever comes. Another key element of practicing peace is self-awareness. We need to understand what triggers our stress, what makes us lose our calm, and what habits contribute to our inner turmoil. When we become aware of our patterns, we gain the ability to interrupt them. For example, if we know that rushing in the morning makes us anxious, we can practice waking up earlier to create a smoother start to the day. If we notice that certain conversations always lead to frustration, we can approach them with a different mindset or establish boundaries. Practicing peace also requires building habits that support inner calm. Meditation, deep breathing, journaling, and mindfulness are powerful tools that help train the mind to remain centered. Just like a musician practices scales daily to master their instrument, we must engage in daily practices that strengthen our ability to remain peaceful. These habits help us develop emotional resilience, so when challenges arise, we are better equipped to handle them with clarity and composure. Additionally, our environment plays a crucial role in our peace. The people we surround ourselves with, the information we consume, and the spaces we live in all influence our state of mind. If we constantly engage in negativity, whether through toxic relationships, distressing news, or chaotic surroundings, it becomes harder to maintain peace. But when we intentionally cultivate an environment that supports tranquility, we make it easier to practice staying calm. Ultimately, peace is not about avoiding problems or difficult emotions. It's about developing the ability to remain steady in the midst of them. The more we practice, the stronger our ability becomes. Over time, we stop reacting impulsively, we stop letting small inconveniences ruin our day, and we begin to navigate life with a sense of inner stability. Peace is not a gift that some have and others don't. It's a skill, a discipline, a way of living that anyone can develop with commitment and practice. And the more we commit to it, the more natural it becomes. Life is unpredictable. No matter how much we plan, prepare, or hope for things to go a certain way, we will always encounter situations beyond our control. Traffic makes us late, people say things we don't expect, plans fall apart, and unexpected challenges arise. When faced with these moments, our instinct is often to resist, to fight against reality, and to wish things were different. But this resistance only creates frustration, anxiety, and stress. The key to maintaining peace in any situation is to focus on what we can control and let go of what we cannot. So much of our stress comes from trying to manage the uncontrollable. We get upset when others don't act the way we want them to. We feel anxious when circumstances don't unfold according to our plans. But the truth is, no matter how much we try, we cannot control other people's actions, external circumstances, or unexpected events. What we can control, however, is how we respond to these situations. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. You can't stop the wind from blowing or the rain from falling, but you can choose whether you stand there helplessly or find shelter. You can't change the weather, but you can adapt to it. Life is full of storms, unexpected difficulties, disappointments, and challenges. The secret to staying peaceful isn't in trying to control the storm, it's in learning how to navigate through it. One of the most effective ways to focus on the controllable is to develop a habit of pausing before reacting. Often, when something doesn't go as planned, we react emotionally without thinking. We let frustration take over and we act in ways that don't serve us. But when we pause, even for just a few seconds, we give ourselves the space to choose our response. In that moment, we can ask, is this something I can control? If not, how can I shift my focus to something I can influence? This simple shift in thinking can completely change the way we experience challenges. Another important aspect of controlling the controllable is managing our thoughts. Our minds are constantly interpreting situations, and these interpretations shape our emotions and actions. When faced with difficulties, we can either feed thoughts of frustration and helplessness, or we can choose thoughts that empower us. For example, instead of thinking, this is unfair, I can't believe this is happening to me, we can shift to, this is tough, but I have the strength to handle it. Our thoughts influence our emotions, and by consciously choosing empowering thoughts, we maintain our inner peace. Emotional regulation is another area where we have control. While we can't always prevent ourselves from feeling emotions like anger, sadness, or stress, we can control how we express them. Instead of lashing out or shutting down, we can take a deep breath, acknowledge our feelings, and respond in a way that aligns with our values. Practicing mindfulness, journaling, or simply taking a walk can help us process emotions in a healthy way. In addition to our thoughts and emotions, we also have control over our actions. No matter what happens, we can always decide how we show up. We can choose to be kind even when others aren't. We can choose to keep moving forward even when the path is uncertain. We can choose to focus on solutions instead of dwelling on problems. By taking ownership of our actions, we reclaim our power in any situation. Letting go of what we can't control doesn't mean giving up or becoming indifferent. It means freeing ourselves from unnecessary stress and redirecting our energy toward things that truly matter. It means understanding that while we can't always change our circumstances, we can always change the way we engage with them. At the end of the day, peace comes from knowing that we are in charge of our own mindset, emotions, and behaviors. When we focus on what we can control and release what we can't, we step into a place of strength and clarity. Life will always be uncertain, but our ability to navigate it with grace is entirely within our hands. Life is full of challenges, uncertainties, and unexpected events. No matter who we are or what we do, we will face moments that test our patience, strength, and resilience. Some people crumble under pressure, while others seem unshaken, navigating difficulties with a sense of calm and confidence. When faced with adversity, our natural instinct is often to focus on what is going wrong. We dwell on problems, magnify setbacks, and allow fear and doubt to take over. But when we train our minds to see challenges as opportunities for growth, we shift from a place of powerlessness to a place of strength. Instead of thinking, why is this happening to me, we can ask, what can I learn from this? This simple shift changes everything. One of the most powerful ways our mindset protects us is by shaping our emotional responses. When we believe that life is against us, that we are unlucky, or that setbacks are personal, we become trapped in frustration and negativity. But when we adopt the mindset that every challenge is a lesson, every delay has purpose, and every obstacle is temporary, we become resilient. We stop seeing difficulties as threats and start seeing them as stepping stones. This mindset doesn't remove hardships, but it changes how we carry them. Imagine two people experiencing the same failure. One sees it as confirmation that they are not good enough, leading them to give up. The other sees it as a lesson, an opportunity to improve and try again. The same event, but two completely different outcomes, all because of mindset. This is the power of perspective. Our thoughts create our reality. What we believe about ourselves, our challenges, and our future influences every decision we make. Another way mindset acts as a shield is in how we handle stress. We often assume that stress is caused by external factors, deadlines, conflicts, unexpected changes. But stress is largely an internal reaction. It is not the event itself that causes stress, but our perception of it. When we see a challenge as overwhelming, our body responds with anxiety and tension. When we see the same challenge as manageable, we remain calm and focused. By training our minds to approach difficulties with a sense of control, we reduce unnecessary stress and make better decisions. Practicing gratitude is one of the most effective ways to strengthen a resilient mindset. When we focus on what is going well rather than what is missing, we create a protective barrier against negativity. Gratitude shifts our focus from lack to abundance, from fear to appreciation. Even in difficult moments, there is always something to be grateful for. A lesson learned, support from others, or the strength we are developing. When we make gratitude a habit, our mindset naturally becomes more positive and resilient. Another key aspect of a strong mindset is self-talk. The way we speak to ourselves shapes our confidence and emotional well-being. Negative self-talk weakens our shield, making us more vulnerable to doubt and fear. But positive self-talk reinforces our strength. Instead of saying, "I can't handle this," we can say, "I am capable of figuring this out." Instead of thinking, "This is too hard," we can remind ourselves, "I've overcome challenges before and I will again." Over time, this shift in inner dialogue builds unshakable mental resilience. Surrounding ourselves with the right influences also plays a crucial role in mindset. The people we listen to, the content we consume, and the environments we spend time in all impact our mental state. If we constantly engage with negativity, gossip, or fear-based thinking, our mindset weakens. But when we choose to surround ourselves with inspiration, growth-oriented conversations, and supportive relationships, our mindset becomes stronger, acting as a powerful shield against negativity. At the core of it all, our mindset determines how we experience life. We cannot always control what happens, but we can always control how we interpret and respond to it. A strong mindset does not mean ignoring difficulties or pretending that challenges don't exist. It means approaching them with a sense of confidence, knowing that we have the ability to adapt, grow, and persevere. Emotions are a natural part of being human. They give color to our experiences, help us navigate relationships, and serve as indicators of what matters to us. However, the problem arises when we allow our emotions to take control of our actions and decisions. When we react impulsively out of anger, fear, frustration, we often make choices that we later regret. But when we understand that emotions are messengers, not masters, we gain the ability to manage them rather than be controlled by them. Think of emotions like warning lights on a car's dashboard. When a light turns on, it's not there to ruin your drive. It's there to give you information. Maybe your fuel is low. Maybe your engine needs attention. You wouldn't get angry at the light or ignore it. You would investigate the issue and take the necessary steps to fix it. Emotions work the same way. They are signals guiding us to pay attention to something important. But just like a warning light, emotions are not meant to take control of the steering wheel. One of the biggest reasons people struggle with emotional control is the belief that emotions must be acted upon immediately. When someone says something that upsets us, we feel the urge to snap back. When we feel anxious, we assume we must escape the situation. But emotions are temporary. They rise, peak, and eventually fade. If we pause before reacting, we allow ourselves time to process what we're feeling rather than letting the emotion dictate our response. For example, imagine receiving harsh criticism at work. If anger takes over, you might react defensively, argue, or shut down completely. But if you recognize that anger is simply signaling that you feel misunderstood or undervalued, you can respond in a way that leads to resolution instead of conflict. You can take a deep breath, assess whether the criticism is constructive, and decide how to address it professionally. The anger itself isn't the problem, it's how we choose to handle it. Another key to managing emotions is understanding that they don't always tell the truth. Just because we feel a certain way doesn't mean the situation is as bad as our emotions suggest. Fear might tell us that we're not good enough, that we will fail, or that we should give up. But fear's job is to protect us, not predict the future. If we listen to fear without questioning it, we might miss opportunities for growth. Instead of obeying every emotion, we can acknowledge it, evaluate its message, and decide if it aligns with reality. This is especially important when dealing with stress and anxiety. Many people believe that feeling anxious means something is wrong, but anxiety is simply the body's way of preparing us for potential challenges. Instead of letting anxiety spiral into panic, we can recognize it as a sign that we care about something deeply. By reframing anxiety as energy rather than a threat, we take back control. The ability to separate ourselves from our emotions comes from self-awareness. When we regularly check in with how we're feeling, we become better at identifying emotional patterns. Journaling, meditation, or simply taking a moment to ask, what am I feeling right now and why, helps us observe emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. The more we practice this awareness, the easier it becomes to respond intentionally rather than react impulsively. It's also important to remember that suppressing emotions is not the same as managing them. Ignoring emotions or pretending they don't exist only causes them to build up and eventually explode. Instead of pushing emotions away, we should acknowledge them, process them, and then choose our response. Healthy emotional management means allowing ourselves to feel without letting those feelings take control. Emotional intelligence is the skill of balancing logic and feeling. It doesn't mean shutting down emotions, it means using them wisely. When we listen to our emotions, but don't let them dictate our actions, we become more effective in relationships, more resilient in challenges, and more at peace within ourselves. Ultimately, emotions are not the enemy. They are guides, signals, and teachers. They tell us what we care about, warn us when something feels wrong, and push us toward growth. But they are not meant to be in control. When we recognize emotions as messengers rather than masters, we regain our power. We stop reacting out of impulse and start responding with wisdom. We become stronger, calmer, and more in control of our own lives. In moments of stress, uncertainty, or chaos, one of the most powerful ways to regain a sense of calm is through connection. As human beings, we are wired for relationships, whether with others, with ourselves, or with something greater than us. When we feel isolated, problems seem bigger, emotions feel heavier, and challenges appear more overwhelming. But when we cultivate strong connections, we build a foundation of support, stability, and peace that helps us navigate even the most difficult situations. One of the most important forms of connection is our relationship with others. In times of stress, our instinct is often to withdraw and handle everything alone. But isolation amplifies anxiety. Talking to someone we trust, a friend, a mentor, or a loved one, can bring clarity and reassurance. Simply expressing our thoughts out loud helps lighten the emotional burden. When we feel heard and understood, our nervous system relaxes and we gain a fresh perspective. Beyond conversation, physical connection also plays a role in creating calm. A reassuring hug, a hand on the shoulder, or even sitting close to someone can have a powerful effect on our emotional state. Studies have shown that physical touch releases oxytocin, a hormone that reduces stress and promotes feelings of safety. Even when words fail, the presence of another person can provide comfort and grounding in uncertain moments. Another essential form of connection is the one we have with ourselves. Many people seek peace externally through distractions, achievements, or validation from others. But true calm comes from within. Self-connection means developing an awareness of our thoughts, emotions, and needs. When we take time to check in with ourselves, we recognize what is truly causing stress and how we can address it. Practices like journaling, meditation, or deep breathing create space for self-reflection. They help us step back from our immediate emotions and observe them with clarity. Instead of being overwhelmed by stress, we can ask, what am I feeling right now? What is this emotion trying to tell me? What do I need in this moment? This kind of inner connection strengthens our ability to handle challenges with patience and wisdom. Beyond self-awareness, self-compassion is another key element of inner connection. Many people are harder on themselves than they would ever be on others. They criticize their mistakes, judge their emotions, and push themselves beyond their limits. But treating ourselves with kindness, especially in difficult times, creates a sense of inner peace. When we remind ourselves that it's okay to struggle, that we are doing our best, and that growth takes time, we reduce unnecessary stress and cultivate resilience. Connection with nature is another powerful way to restore calm. The modern world is filled with noise, screens, and constant stimulation, making it easy to feel disconnected from the world around us. But stepping outside, whether walking in a park, sitting by the ocean, or simply feeling the sun on our skin, reminds us of something bigger than ourselves. Nature has a grounding effect, helping us slow down, breathe deeper, and regain perspective. For many, connection with a higher purpose, whether through spirituality, faith, or a sense of mission, also creates a deep sense of peace. When we feel connected to something beyond our individual struggles, challenges seem less overwhelming. Whether it's through prayer, meditation, or simply reflecting on what truly matters, connecting with a greater purpose provides strength and stability in uncertain times. And at its core, connection reminds us that we are not alone. It provides reassurance, perspective, and support when we need it most. In difficult moments, instead of retreating into isolation, we can choose to reach out to others, to ourselves, to nature, or to a higher purpose. The more we nurture these connections, the stronger our sense of inner peace becomes. Calm is not something we find by eliminating all problems or avoiding stress. It is something we create through the strength of our connections. When we build meaningful relationships, practice self-awareness and self-compassion, and stay connected to what truly matters, we develop an unshakable sense of peace that carries us through any situation. In moments of uncertainty, chaos, or crisis, our natural response is often panic. Panic clouds our judgment, fuels fear, and leads us to make impulsive decisions that don't serve us in the long run. It narrows our focus to immediate survival rather than long-term solutions. But there is another way to respond, one that creates clarity, stability, and direction. That way is purpose. When we choose purpose over panic, we shift from reacting out of fear to acting with intention. We reclaim control even in situations that feel overwhelming. Panic is a short-term reaction. It is triggered by uncertainty, unexpected changes, or perceived danger. While panic can create a surge of energy, it rarely leads to productive action. Instead, it heightens stress, increases anxiety, and makes problems seem larger than they actually are. Purpose, on the other hand, gives us a long-term perspective. It reminds us of what truly matters and helps us make decisions that align with our values rather than being driven by fear. Imagine two people facing the same crisis, perhaps a sudden financial setback, a failed project, or an unexpected life change. One person panics, letting fear dictate their actions. They make rash decisions, blame themselves or others, and spiral into stress. The other person pauses, reminds themselves of their purpose, and asks, what is the best way forward? Instead of getting lost in worry, they focus on solutions. They understand that setbacks are temporary, but their purpose remains constant. A clear sense of purpose acts as an anchor in difficult times. It keeps us steady when everything else feels unstable. Purpose reminds us that challenges are part of the journey, not the end of it. It helps us see obstacles as opportunities for growth rather than reasons to give up. When we are guided by purpose, we don't let fear control us, we use it as fuel to push forward. One of the most effective ways to shift from panic to purpose is to ask the right questions. Panic-driven questions sound like, what if everything goes wrong? Why is this happening to me? What if I fail? Purpose-driven questions, however, create clarity and direction. What is the next step I can take? What can I learn from this situation? How can I turn this challenge into an opportunity? The questions we ask shape our focus. When we ask questions rooted in fear, we get answers that increase stress. But when we ask questions rooted in purpose, we find solutions that move us forward. Another way to strengthen purpose over panic is to develop a mindset of resilience. Instead of seeing difficulties as signs to stop, we can reframe them as necessary parts of the journey. Every challenge we face builds strength, wisdom, and adaptability. Some of the most successful people in the world didn't avoid failure. They learned from it and kept going. They had a purpose greater than their setbacks. Staying purpose-driven also requires us to manage our emotions effectively. Panic is fueled by overwhelming emotions, fear, anxiety, doubt. But emotions are temporary. Instead of reacting instantly, we can take a deep breath, acknowledge how we feel, and then choose our response. Simple practices like deep breathing, journaling, or taking a short walk can help reset our state of mind, allowing us to approach challenges with clarity. Purpose also gives us a reason to keep moving, even when things feel uncertain. Think of a mountain climber facing difficult terrain. If they focus only on the obstacles in front of them, fear might make them stop. But if they keep their eyes on the peak, their ultimate goal, they find the strength to take another step. Purpose is that peak. It keeps us going when circumstances are tough. We cannot always control what happens to us, but we can always control how we respond. Choosing purpose over panic means making decisions from a place of strength rather than fear. It means trusting that every setback has a lesson, every challenge has an opportunity, and every difficulty is shaping us into a stronger version of ourselves. In the end, panic only leads to regret, while purpose leads to progress. The next time life feels overwhelming, pause and ask yourself, am I reacting out of fear or am I responding with purpose? That one decision can change everything.